Have you ever looked around and felt like you're seeing more? Not ghosts or anything supernatural, but the hidden gears turning beneath the surface of everyday life? The unspoken motives behind the polite smiles is the fragile logic holding up widely accepted beliefs. And have you noticed that the clearer things become to you, the harder it seems to connect with others? Like you're watching a play and you can suddenly see the ropes, the stagehands, and the peeling paint on the backdrop, while everyone else is still lost in the performance. If that resonates, you might be experiencing what I call the curse of clarity. It's the unsettling paradox that seeing the world too clearly and understanding its intricate, often uncomfortable truths can lead not to enlightenment embraced, but to a profound sense of isolation. It's not that you're trying to be different, it's that the lens through which you perceive reality has sharpened, revealing details others seem content to ignore. And historically, society hasn't always been kind to those who point out that the emperor or the entire system might not be wearing any clothes. Think about it. From the ancient philosopher questioning the shadows on the cave wall to the modern scientist challenging convenient narratives, those who possess unusual clarity have often found themselves standing apart. Not always celebrated, but frequently misunderstood, silenced, sidelined. Why does seeing clearly often feel like a burden rather than a gift? The uncomfortable reflection. Let's unravel this. When you encounter someone exceptionally charismatic, you might feel charmed. When you meet someone incredibly wealthy, perhaps a pang of envy or admiration. These qualities, while notable, often remain external. But clarity, insight, that operates differently. When someone articulates a truth that cuts through comforting illusions, it doesn't just present a new idea, it implicitly questions the foundations upon which others have built their reality. Psychologists touch on concepts like cognitive dissonance, that mental discomfort we feel when holding contradictory beliefs, or when new information clashes with our existing worldview. Someone with clarity often becomes an unintentional source of that dissonance for others. They don't even need to be arrogant. Their very perspective, the way they connect dots others miss, can act like an unwelcome mirror. It reflects back not just the world's complexities, but potentially the listener's own blind spots, their own unexamined assumptions, their own comfortable ignorance. And the ego, that fragile guardian of our self-perception, instinctively recoils from that reflection. It's easier to dismiss the messenger, label them as negative, cynical, or overthinking it, than to confront the uncomfortable landscape their clarity reveals. Protecting our carefully constructed reality often takes precedence over embracing a potentially disruptive truth. Seeing the scaffolding of society. This discomfort intensifies when clarity pierces the veil of social conventions. The person who sees clearly often perceives the why behind the what, the power dynamics underlying politeness, the anxieties driving consumerism, and the historical inertia shaping traditions. Small talk can feel like navigating a minefield of unspoken intentions. Social rituals can seem transparently performative. Group enthusiasm might ring hollow, revealing the underlying pressures of conformity. You might find yourself craving conversations with depth, substance, and authenticity, but discover that many interactions skate cautiously on the surface. Why? Because the surface is safe. The depths revealed by clarity contain uncertainties, contradictions, and uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our world. This isn't necessarily a judgment of others. It's an observation of differing modes of perception. One navigates the accepted map, the other can't help but see the terrain itself, complete with its pitfalls and hidden paths. This perceptual gap makes genuine connections incredibly challenging. Echoes through time, clarity penalized. History offers stark warnings. It's a graveyard of individuals punished for their clarity. Socrates. He wasn't just asking annoying questions. His relentless probing forced Athenians to confront their own ignorance, stripping away the veneer of wisdom they clung to. His clarity about the limits of human knowledge was a threat to established authority. His sentence wasn't for atheism, it was for intellectual disruption. Galileo Galilei. He didn't invent a heliocentric model, but his telescope offered clear, observational proof that shattered a divinely ordained, Earth-centric cosmos. His clarity threatened not just dogma, but the immense power the church derived from being the sole arbiter of reality. He was forced to recant the truth he could see. Baruch Spinoza, excommunicated and reviled in his time for his philosophical clarity. He presented a rational, deterministic view of God and nature that stripped away comforting anthropomorphism and superstition. His clear, logical system was too stark, too impersonal, and too threatening to the religious institutions of his day. Simone Weil, a 20th century philosopher and mystic whose clarity was almost unbearable. She saw the nature of suffering, injustice, and the impersonal nature of affliction with piercing insight. Her radical empathy and intellectual honesty alienated her from various political and religious groups. She lived and wrote from a place of profound, often painful, clarity that defied easy categorization. These figures, and countless others, weren't just smart. They possessed a clarity of perception that cut through the murky consensus of their time. And society, prioritizing comfort and stability, often reacted with fear and hostility. The burden of knowing, a philosophical glint. Philosophers have long grappled with this burden. While Schopenhauer emphasized the suffering inherent in conscious existence, amplified by intellect, we can frame it through the lens of clarity. To see clearly the cyclical nature of desire, the prevalence of suffering, the often irrational drives governing human behavior, is to carry a weight others might blissfully ignore. Think of Plato's allegory of the cave. The prisoner freed from the chains sees the fire, the objects casting shadows, and eventually the sun, the true forms of reality. But returning to the cave, his eyes, accustomed to the light of clarity, struggle in the dimness. He tries to explain the reality outside, but the remaining prisoners, comfortable with their shadows, mock him, threaten him. They cannot comprehend, nor do they want to comprehend, the world his clarity has revealed. The curse isn't just seeing the truth. It's the subsequent inability to comfortably exist again in the world of shadows, and the difficulty of sharing that vision with those who haven't seen it. Modern amplifiers, the age of blurring. And today, our modern world seems almost designed to discourage clarity. The attention economy thrives not on depth, but on fleeting engagement. Algorithms favor the simple, the emotionally charged, the easily digestible. Nuance, complexity, the very hallmarks of clear thinking, get buried under an avalanche of hot takes and viral noise. Echo chambers cocoon us in reinforcing narratives, making genuine encounters with different, clearly articulated perspectives feel jarring, even offensive. Critical thinking is claimed as a virtue, but sustained, deep, clear analysis is often sidelined in favor of tribal signaling and performative outrage. In this environment, expressing a clear, nuanced insight that challenges a prevailing narrative can feel like shouting into a hurricane. It's easier, safer, and more socially rewarding to stay within the prescribed lines, to echo the popular sentiment, to keep the waters undisturbed. The pressure to blur one's own clarity for the sake of belonging is immense. Navigating the world with clear eyes. So, if you recognize yourself in this description, are you doomed to perpetual isolation? A Cassandra, cursed to see the truth, but never be believed? Not necessarily. However, navigating the world with clarity requires conscious strategies. First, acceptance. Understand that the friction you feel isn't a personal failure. It's an inherent tension between clarity and the comfort of the familiar. Recognizing this dynamic depersonalizes the rejection. Second, find your resonators. You don't need universal understanding. Seek out the pockets of the world, the individuals, the communities, online or off, where depth is valued, where clarity is welcomed. Engage with the great thinkers of the past through books. Find your intellectual kin. Third, master the art of translation. Clarity doesn't have to mean bluntness. As Einstein supposedly suggested about explaining physics, true understanding allows for simplification. Learn to communicate your insights in ways that are accessible, perhaps using analogies or storytelling, without sacrificing the core truth. Gently invite curiosity, rather than forcing a confrontation. Fourth, cultivate inner sanctuary. Find validation not in external approval, but in the richness of your own understanding. Embrace solitude not as loneliness, but as a space for deeper reflection and connection with your own thoughts. Your clarity is a powerful lens. Use it to explore the universe within and without. Conclusion: the curse of clarity. It feels like a burden, yes. It can be profoundly lonely, but it's also a profound gift. It's the engine of insight, the catalyst for progress, the bedrock of genuine understanding. Society may instinctively resist the discomfort clarity brings, but it needs those who can see beyond the surface, who can identify the flaws in the system, who can envision better ways forward. So if you see the scaffolding behind the stage, if you perceive the nuances others miss, don't dim your vision to fit in. Protect it, cultivate it, learn to navigate the world with it wisely. You are not broken, you are not wrong, you are simply seeing. And in a world often content with shadows, seeing clearly, even when it's difficult, is an act of courage, perhaps even an act of hope. What are your experiences with this curse of clarity? Have you ever felt isolated for seeing things differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's build a community of clear sight. And if this resonates, consider subscribing for more explorations into the deeper currents of philosophy and life. We're just getting started.